This is the last topic that we will discuss, research planning, connected to the chapter 8 of the book, and how this methodology will help us define deliverables and always to define the stepping stones that will answer certainly the sub-questions and will reach the research objective. Research planning is a highly non-linear process and has different functions. Let's consider for a moment the following diagram. Our research design, the conceptualization and the technical research design, should answer both what and how, those questions. The what provided by the research objective and the set of research questions. The what also provided by the problem analysis and your problem statement. And putting the problem statement or the problem in a problem context or system description with a tool of systems thinking, for instance. First the what and then the how. And in the how we aim for the research strategies and the research materials. At this moment we have defined our research sub-questions. We have also defined our stepping stones. And then we have translated those stepping stones into deliverables, products for every step of the. We have gathered already enough results, data, or we have a functioning simulation, or a functioning prototype, or a tested model. Now, what to do with those results? Of course, we need to analyze those results and then report the results with good communication skills. Written and oral communication skills. Sometimes, based on those results, we need to redefine the strategies or even redefine questions or modify the objective. Recall that this is a nonlinear process. Research is highly nonlinear. We need sometimes to redefine our strategies, and that comes immediately after analyzing a preliminary set of results. So what's wrong with our conceptualization of planning, research planning? So it's good to have a plan at the beginning, even though it looks very linear, and it's highly connected to our materials and strategies and also to our questions. But we need to keep in mind that this is a nonlinear process, an iterative process. Most probably the planning needs to be redesigned based on the circumstances or the new insights that you have acquired during your literature research or the interviewing of stakeholders. So what else is wrong with our conceptualization of planning? We tend to think that we have a list of activities, and those activities will have dates, a beginning and an end, which becomes deadlines. And so when designing your research planning, it seems that the planning itself becomes an objective, and we tend to forget the real objective of the research project. Now, how to fix this? How to get the correct conceptualization of the research planning? We may have an overview of the activities, and those activities certainly should have well-defined products, deliverables. Now, besides, those activities also should have a sequence and a timeline. But it's a combination of both, the deliverables and the timeline, that becomes the actual research planning, meaning that it's a combination of processes and products. This is the way that we should define it, and it should be well connected to our goal and well connected to our sub-questions. Now, research planning also has different functions. So we have first the formative monitoring function, meaning that we should keep a finger on the pulse of the project. It's a sort of timekeeper. And when we are dealing with bigger projects, one of the engineers or one of the collaborators could take actually the role of timekeeping among many of the roles. The second function has to be with the design of the research planning. Here we need to see an overview of the predefined sub-questions, predefined strategies, and the ways to access and gather the data, our materials. But also we need to answer the questions when and which order. Are our activities done only in a consecutive way? Or actually, are there activities in the timeline that can be done in parallel? These are fundamental questions when designing your research planning. Now we have seen this cycle in most of the course units, for the strategies, for the materials, when designing your questions. So when designing your research plan, it's not the exception. We also have a step-by-step approach. The topic on research planning also goes around this diagram, the Gantt diagram, which is a histogrammic representation of our activities, the scheduling, and the time axis. We can make use of a different diagram also, for instance, the Pearl diagram. The idea is to get inspired towards the elaboration of your table of contents, but mostly defining the critical route, meaning those activities that are key to finalize the project. And this critical route, in principle, should be marked inside of the diagram. One activity depending highly on a previous activity. Let's take a look at these two examples, coming from highly cited papers. The first is a model-based project product lifecycle management. We can see the set of activities in a time schedule, and we can see how those activities are depending on each other. Now, in the second example, on how to reduce new product development time, we can see also the set of activities. It's just a different approach. The list of activities, the time of each activity, and we can see that there are activities that are consecutive in a serial way, or most of them actually are activities that can be done in a parallel way. And the first time that someone proposed a methodology, of course, was the American mechanical engineer Henry Lawrence Gantt. And here we can see the diagram that he published in his paper in 1903. And previously we saw the modern versions of the same methodology, with a list of activities, interrelations of the activities, activities in series or in parallel, and a critical route in general all over the diagram. Now, how to incorporate the research planning in not only in your poster for the online team-based learning 2, but also for the research and design plan connected to the synthesis case of the course unit. My answer to that uncertainty is to take a look of your questions, methods and tools, strategies, deliverables, and you should define your stepping stones. Those stepping stones most probably are interconnected in a parallel or a serial way. Define your critical route and then be able to defend your assumptions. Those assumptions should be educated, meaning that certainly there are journal papers that have addressed a similar type of planning or a similar type of problem, at least. And the defense of your assumptions should be evident in your deliverables, in your documentation, but also during your oral examination. Thank you so much. This is the very last lecture of the course unit, and success with all the work that is left to do.